All right, everyone, here we are with ticker symbol PLTR. And before we jump into this chart, I want to say welcome to all my first-time viewers and investors. Welcome to the channel, Invest for Tomorrow. To all the subscribers, welcome back. And before we jump into everything we're about to dive into, it's pretty cool stuff that we're about to see. And thanks to some investors that took the time to discuss this in the comments, we're about to dive into it. But before we do, I want to announce the launch of my website, investfortomorrow.com. And in the homepage, there's a short video that gives you the forward outlook and purpose and goal of the website. Here is the forums page. You'll be able to see the different forums that you can join in on once you become a member. And in the members options, there's two options to choose from. And down below, you can see what each one gives you access to. It's completely optional. I want to say thank you to those of you that have joined already and stopped by to check out the website. And if you haven't, I'm just here to encourage you and let you know if you weren't aware of the website. I'm going to put the link down below in the description, investfortomorrow.com. So PLTR. PLTR is a very interesting stock right now. It's been running, right, since IPO basically. And we're going to look at some details here that I really want to zoom in on. And then we're going to go ahead and break down our resistance and supports. So yesterday, well, not yesterday, actually 2 days from today, because I am actually doing this video today on the 11th, and I'm going to post this video tomorrow on the 12th. So 2 days ago, in our previous video of PLTR stock, there was 3 comments that were very, very valuable and reasonable questions and comments. So we had one person talk about the 180-day lockup is coming up at the end of this month. Someone then asked, how would that affect the stock? Will it affect it pulling it down? So that is a possibility, and I'm going to go into that in just a moment. And then someone else said the 180-day lockup is closer to February 3rd after fourth quarter and 1 week from such and such. I don't remember exactly how the comments went. I'll have to go back and look at it. But there's a discrepancy there. We have one investor commenting the end of this month, which is December, and before the end of the year or the beginning of this year in January. And then we have someone talking about it towards February 3rd. I don't know exactly how the 180 lockup starts or how it handles. If anybody wants to answer this and like make some clarity here for myself and all the investors. I thought the 180 is from the date of IPO, or is it from the date that they filed to then IPO? So how does that 6-month time frame work? If anybody has information on that, I really appreciate it. And to those of you that commented in the video previously, just for bringing it up, I really appreciate it, because I know the 180 days is coming. I was going to do more research on that towards like a month or two from now, because that's the time frame I'm thinking about, right? 6 months from October. If you do the math, October, November, December, January, February, March. So I was thinking about doing it the first 3 months of of next year, starting around January, and start researching. But if anybody wants to go ahead and answer that for me, how the 180-day lockup actually transacts, and how does it start, and how does it become determined, I would really appreciate that. And then also, for those of you that commented, one person said towards the end of this month, the other person said towards February 3rd. If you guys can show an article or some way to kind of back up what was it that you guys were saying, so that other investors can get clarity as well. Even myself, I'm actually here asking you guys to help out. Since you guys brought it up, I'm sure I can do the research myself, but since you guys brought it up, I would really appreciate for you guys to bring some clarity within your guys' statements, and I really appreciate it. But not just myself, I think the community and every single investor would appreciate that from you guys. But for those of you that do know more about the 180-day lockup and how it works, I would really appreciate you guys as well taking the time in general explaining how that 180-day lockup is determined, and when it happens, how does it react, and what goes on. Well, to answer the question to the person that asked when this comment was made, that the 180-day lockup is coming up soon. They asked, how would that affect the stock? Will it affect it in a downward trend? Well, we have already seen insider selling happen. And when this IPO'd a few days after, literally, I think it was, actually the next day, it fell down. It fell almost from 9 and some change down to 887. So when these lockups actually are now kind of freed and the 6-month period or 180-day period goes through, when these lockups go through, if the investors that are insider investors or also like board of directors, CEO, CFO, and different entities, right, that are within this, individuals, actually not entities, individuals that are within this whole entire insider shareholders before the IPO, they have the cheapest stocks, and if the stock multiplied by a certain amount, they will probably dilute some, and yes, the stock could actually take a small hit. So we've seen it actually take hits on the way up, right, when some stocks have already been diluted. So the 180-day lockup, I'm not sure how this pertains to these individuals, but let's look at this. So this is sometimes not very accurate. That's why I don't really like using this that much, but this is to give us an overview of what's going on. This needs to be updated most likely, or this is as updated as it could be. So on quarter 3, 14 million were sold, and quarter 4, 207 million were sold. I mean, that's incredible. That's a lot of selling. So here we are with all the executed orders, all of these, right? And we're going to look at October 1st for a second. It's a very important time. From the 30th and the 1st, all of these right here are pretty much director, CEO, CFO, and COO. These are all very important individuals within the whole entire company. And then we have one insider here, which is probably an investor that came in early with private investing, and even these insiders as well. So let's look at this. October 1st. So on the 30th, there was selling that happened right away, and it dipped. October 1st, selling happened, and it dipped, and it brought this down for the next couple of days to about 8 and some change. I think that's the lowest that we've seen this stock hit, and after that, it started to pick up. So you could see that all these insiders have already sold some portion of their stake. Actually, some of them have sold more than they own. And that is very, very important to keep in mind. And you could see that here. So the CEO sold 11 million of his shares, and he only kept 6 million. That's more than what they actually have right now, right? That person individually had now, or is left with. Now, another one that made a big order was this insider here, but he kept more than what he owns. The only person out of this whole entire list that sold more than what they stayed with is the CEO. So when this 180 lockup date actually becomes released, if the CEO feels comfortable enough to sell more, I mean, after making this much off of one transaction of shares, I don't think they're going to want to just jump the gun, probably hold some value to the company and hold still a stake, but they might dilute some of their shares. And all of these people here, when you look at that, they're all in the millions, so they have enough room to go ahead and sell. The other person that sold more than they stayed with is, again, Stephan Andrew Cohen. I mean, you could see here that they sold 2 million here, and they sold and stayed with 3 million, and then all of a sudden now they're left with 200,000, and they sold 500,000. So in between all of this, I think this insider has sold more shares so far, and it's not reported here, or this is just another entire portfolio that Stephan Andrew Cohen owns, right? This insider within the company. But to see some of these names pop up more than once, right? They call him CFO one time, and then they call him over here again insider, and they're selling. That's very, very interesting to pay close attention to. And like all of a sudden 5 million, and then now it's 3 million, right? And where did the other 2 million go? So there's some interesting stuff here, and here as well. Like it went from there to here, and then here again. So some of these names are being repeated, and they're the same people, and they went from different titles to insiders. But very interesting. I really appreciate the fact that you guys brought that up. But the 180-day mark hasn't happened yet, and yet we have some insiders selling, CEO, CFO. So if anybody can answer that a little bit better for me, more than I know, I would really appreciate it, and give some clarity as well how that 180 day or 6-month period of lockup is handled, and how this is actually being able to happen as we speak and where we're at. So found that interesting. And you can see here again, Alexandra, he sold a certain amount and he went down to 6 million. He sold again 1 million shares, and he was up at 7 million. So you see some of these numbers are not accurate. I don't think it's showing when they bought. It's not reporting. And then yet they're selling. And this is the CEO again. So like I said, some very interesting stuff here going on with how these shares are being sold and how they're being bought and what's going on. But you could just see that it's the same people, and they're all the CFO, the insiders, the COO, the directors, the CEO, and so forth. And the general counsel only came up once. He's been holding his shares, or maybe buying more, who knows. So let's go ahead and see here what is going on with the whole entire stock as a whole right now in this period. It's going pretty much in a downward direction, slightly sideways. And since I was already here on this page, I want us to see something here. Let's see the analysis ratings. So everyone is saying it's a hold right now. They were saying that 30 days ago here based off market beat. And their price target is $13 in the near future. And it's going to be in the downside by 50%. I think that that's sometimes a little bit over exaggerated. Also, their insider trades and institutional ownerships are not updated very well. And that's something that I kind of dislike. But you could see that there's a lot of buying from institutional ownerships. Like institutions are buying in on this. Like they see value and potential in this company. So when these banks and institutions are buying in on this, I think that there's some room. And the fact that 2.91 billion have been bought and no institutional investors are selling, is this what we're talking about, the 180-day mark, that they can start selling as well? That's something I would like to know. But I think that that's very interesting. No institution has sold. If anything, they're jumping in and they're getting more. And the analysis rating is pretty weak. I don't know. I think that's interesting as well. But if we go here and we go to tip ranks, let's see what they say about PLTR, which is always good to see different analysis. So everyone's saying the same thing. They're all pointing downwards. That's interesting, and we need to watch this. Pay very close attention to it. And when more than one source is saying it, it's for a reason. And if insiders are selling this much, that's interesting. Very interesting. Now, again, analysis don't always mean that they're going in that direction. Doesn't always mean that they're going to fall that way. But I like to go ahead and see what analysis are saying, because there's a lot of great information, and it's always good to see different opinions. So let's see here what they say about PLTR, because these guys, they're pretty wild with their their analysis. Let's see what they say here at CNN Money. If they're pointing downwards too, then that's something to watch, right? So let's see. Yeah, they're pointing down as well. That is very interesting. And CNN likes to be very wild with their analysis, and they're actually pointing in the same direction. So I'm really glad I'm looking at this. I'm really glad that investors mentioned it. And I just want to say to all investors, pay very close attention to this if you're in it. If you're a firm believer in this company, that I hope that this video doesn't change your perspective. I'm not here to tell you to buy, sell, or hold anything or change your perspective at all. I'm just here to do the due diligence, share it with you guys, and you guys have to do your research. Or you guys can definitely say, hey, I see what you're saying, invest for tomorrow, but this is what I see, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody sees a chart, everybody sees analysis, everybody sees a company completely different, but I like to see all these different sources, what they're thinking, because they don't just have one mind thinking these analysis, it's multiple minds, and just like one mind can think something, multiple minds and perspectives are good as well. So here we are at 27.23. The 50-day moving average is 26.75. Super important that this is in a tug of war, and if the bulls can't stay above it, it's going to become much more difficult for them to go ahead and stay in bullish territory, right? If they get pulled down, it's going to become more difficult, and this could be on its way down to newer lows, especially with all those price targets. But when we actually look at this is in a downward trend. Even though it kind of looks like it holds itself up and it looks like there's some momentum here, this is in a downward trend from the $30 mark, and insiders have already been selling. So when the 180 mark date comes, I guess they have room to sell as many shares as they want, not like how they've been selling now in little bits and pieces. And that's going to have a big toll and effect on the company. Now, in the long term, that could be a discount. And if there's potential here in this sector and in this company, I think that it'll bounce back from those lows. But you have to go ahead and do your due diligence and check everything out. But everything I'm seeing is pointing downwards. Not in a bad way, like I'm being pessimistic about this. It's just what the analysis are showing, and the fact that this has ran up significantly, and already since the beginning, insiders have been selling, and through the whole process they've been selling and buying. So our resistance is 27.29. That's what the bulls need to break through. They need to turn that into a support, and by turning that into a support, they can break away from the 50-day moving average and work their way up to newer highs. So that's going to be a very important point for the bulls right now. Since they created this momentum, they need to break through it and pull away from it to reach newer highs. On the other spectrum of things, we have our support, and our support is 26.06. 26.06, if that gets broken through, the bears have accomplished two things. They broke through the 50-day moving average, and they're getting deeper into bearish territory and actually pulling further away from the 50-day moving average in a downward direction. So I would emphasize to all investors, pay very close attention to the behavior of the stock if 26.06 gets broken through, and your next support would be down here at 25.09. So if you want to write that down, that's another point of reference to see if the bears are getting deeper into bearish territory or if the bulls are trying to reappear to bring this one back up. This was pretty short here with the analysis, but I hope that all this information has helped many of you kind of open your perspective or forward outlook on this one, and also see what is going on overall with the chart. And what is your thoughts now since you've seen all of this? Have you seen any of this? Did you think about any of this? Or you were completely unaware of it, and now this information has enlightened you to kind of have a different perspective, but not to make a decision based off this video, but to go research yourself, do your due diligence, and see what's going on in the forward outlook of this company. I mean, the company can continue growing. All these analyses could be wrong, and the insider trading can affect the stock just a tad bit, like it did here, and even back here at the beginning of IPO, just dropping at $2-3, and then it'll just run back up as it always has been in this upward direction to this point. I mean, so far it's been pretty bullish, and it's not showing any signs of just destroying the chart like all these different analysis are showing. But these are all some things to consider and keep in mind. As always, if you found this video helpful and informative, please do so and subscribe. Don't forget to click on the bell to turn on all notifications and not miss a single video that I post. Share this with your friends and community, and don't forget to hit the like button to let me know you watch this video. I look forward to seeing your guys' comments down below and thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let's make some money.